Hi guys! Today I'm going to show you guys how to use figurative language in your own writing, which will be really cool. Writers like to use figurative language because it makes your writing more interesting. It doesn't just sound kind of boring, it makes it a little more lively. All right, so um, we're just going to talk about two different types of figurative language today, and that's going to be similes and metaphors. So, a simile is when you compare two unlike things using like or as. For example, you can say, Miss Hutchins is like a frog as she moves from group to group. So, the two things I am comparing are Miss Hutchins and a frog. And I'm using that like. That's why I have it in red there. So, I'm using like to compare those two things. So, that is why it's a simile. We're comparing two unlike things. I wouldn't typically say Miss Hutchins and frogs are alike. So there's two unlike things using that like or as. Then the other type of figurative language we're going to talk about today is a metaphor. So when you're using a metaphor, it's very similar to a simile. You're still comparing two unlike things, but you're not using like or as. Typically, a metaphor, you're actually saying something is or was something else. So, for example, I took the same simile that I used above and I made it a metaphor. So instead of saying Miss Hutchins is like a frog, I now said Miss Hutchins is a frog as she moves from group to group. So that big difference there is I'm saying something is like not like something else. I'm saying it is something else. So Miss Hutchins is a frog. And using these types of figurative language will make your writing more interesting. So I just wanted to show you another example. This simile said, my pillow was like a cloud when I laid my head down. Okay, so they're comparing a pillow to a cloud and using that like or as there. Then another example of a metaphor is the paintbrush was a magic wand in his hand. So they're comparing a paintbrush to a magic wand by saying the paintbrush actually is something else. The paintbrush was a magic wand in his hand. All right, so now I want you guys to think about this one. Got to move myself for a second there. It says, the kid was as slow as a snail as he got out of bed. So would that be a simile or a metaphor? The kid was as slow as a snail. I want you to think about it for a second. Okay, so hopefully you realize that that was a simile. I'm comparing a kid to a snail, and I didn't use like, but there I used as. So the kid was as slow as a snail. Compared those two things. So that is a simile. If you got that right, give yourself a pat on the back. All right, now we have another one. My sister was a tornado I think I missed a she in there, as she moved through the house. So I'm comparing my sister to a tornado. Would that be a simile or a metaphor? Hopefully, you said metaphor because we're comparing the sister in a tornado, and instead of saying she was like a tornado, we're actually saying she is a tornado. So, with metaphors, you're kind of saying this is something else. All right, I hope you're starting to get it. So, now let's talk about how it's going to look in our writing. Here's the teacher example of some writing that we're using when we're when we're writing our opinion piece. Is eating at home better or is eating out better when you're talking about going out to dinner or staying home? So right here we have, this is the third paragraph in our writing piece, and I'm going to show you where we added a little bit of figurative language to make it more interesting. So it says, another reason why eating at home is better than going out to eat is that you can make healthy choices. Typically, people who go out to eat consume 300 more calories a meal than they would if they were at home. When making a dinner at home, people are more conscientious of what they make. When my family cooks dinner at home, we always make sure we have vegetables every night. And then here in green, I said, eating vegetables is like winning $1 million. I bet you're starting to realize the importance of eating a family meal at home. Okay, so I added in that simile there. Yeah, not a metaphor. I have that like to make my writing sound a little more interesting. Eating vegetables is like winning $1 million. Two unlike things, eating vegetables, winning $1 million. But I use that to show the importance and to prove my point that eating vegetables at home and getting that thing, that's really, really good, just like winning $1 million is. So I did that, added that in there to make our writing more interesting, which you're going to be doing in a minute as well. Let me see. I think that's it. Okay. So what I want you to do now is I want you to think about your opinion piece. You came up with whether you're thinking virtual learning is better or not at home, or in-person learning is better. So you're going to think of maybe a simile or a metaphor that you can add in there to make your writing a little bit more interesting. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go to your Google Classroom and you're going to go for your writing for today, and you are going to actually come up with just one sentence. You're going to pick either a simile or a metaphor, and you are going to create that you will eventually add in your paper later. Okay, so I want you guys to go ahead and head over there and do that now. Get creative, think of something good to make your readers interested in what you're writing about. All right, guys, have fun. See you next time. Bye.